Hi, and I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Channel Voices. I wanted to take just a short moment to share a little update with you, something that I'm very excited about. We have created a channel ecosystems community on Twitter. It's a platform for channel professionals to connect and share their insights and knowledge with each other. It's a community that is dedicated to learning, sharing, and staying on topic. Whether you're a vendor, distributor, reseller, solutions provider, the community is to be a great place to network and to learn from your peers. We encourage you to join us there. You can find the link in the show notes or find Channel Voices on Twitter and scroll through our timeline and you'll be able to find the link to join. We really would be very happy if you could join us in the community there, and we look forward to the conversations and best practice sharing. Let's grow together. Hello, welcome, and thank you for tuning into Channel Voices, the podcast for future channel leaders, where we learn the ins and outs of partner ecosystems through casual conversations with channel professionals from a variety of industries, partner types, and geographies. My name is Maciek, and I'm your host. Our guest today is the president and co-founder of AscendX Digital, a company providing through-channel marketing automation platform and services that enable manufacturers, distributors, and their partners to fully participate in the digital customer journey. Her very successful channel career spans over more than 20 years. She held multiple channel roles at HP and Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. Sherry Foster, welcome to Channel Voices.
Thanks, Maciek. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for joining me. As we typically start, it'd be good to hear a little bit about your background in the channel. How have you started? What have you been doing up till now?
Yeah, sure. So when I thought about you asking me that question, I realized that I've spent probably my entire career working with the channel in some capacity. I spent over 20 years at Hewlett-Packard and Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, which has always been a strong channel go-to-market company. And so every role that I had, whether it was sales or marketing, business development, operations, it's always included a component of, how do we make this successful with and through our partners, not just direct. And partners would include, distributors, VARs, ISVs, OEMs, alliance partners, just, the entire gamut. And when I left HP, I went to a technology accessories company called StarTech.com, which is 100% channel go-to-market focused. And so in addition to the traditional IT channels that, that I just mentioned, there were a lot of sales through different channels there altogether, like marketplaces and Amazon and all of those e-commerce kinds of channels. So every single job I've had has included some component of the channel right from the start.
Wow, that's fantastic. As the listeners have clicked on this episode, they would have seen the title. And the topic is TCMA. But can you unravel this acronym for us and let us know what it is?
Yeah, sure. So TCMA is through channel marketing automation. The TCM part, the through channel marketing, that's when vendors or manufacturers or distributors even want to market their products and or their services through their entire network of partners to those partners, customers, and buyers. And, we've all heard the number that 75% of world trade flows indirectly. And so these vendors know that in order to reach those buyers, that path is through their partners. And so the marketing has to follow and go through the partners as well. The A part on the end of TCMA is automation. So through channel marketing automation. And the automation is the technology platform that enables that TCM, the through channel marketing strategy and processes to be delivered.
Is through channel marketing automation an essential part of for a company that goes to market via partners?
So through channel marketing itself is essential. And it's essential for a number of reasons. So, I mentioned earlier that 75% of world trade flows indirectly. So if you're marketing, if you're not marketing through your partners, you're missing a whole lot of buyers that are looking to buy through partners. Buyers who are looking to buy from partners is increasing. So whether it's B2B or B2C, the desire to buy locally is increasing. I mean, Google searches for near me have increased by 400% over the last couple of years. So people are caring about buying local, and who's local? The partners are local. So it's essential that you're marketing through your buyers. The automation part is essential because that enables companies to reach so many more partners and so many more buyers. And the other thing is that partners need the help of vendors to do this. So if you look at the digital transition, it's accelerated like crazy since, early 2020. More buyers than ever are looking, researching, transacting online. I mean, McKinsey came out with a study about a year ago that said the path to, success is omni-channel, and 100% of buyers are looking online. Like, there are no exceptions. It doesn't matter the industry. It doesn't matter the
Right.
size of the company. There are just like absolutely zero exceptions. But the thing is, not every partner has made the shift. And the reason they haven't made the shift is because 90% of partners are SMB. They're small, medium businesses. And they don't have internal resources, whether they're marketing, e-commerce, digital transformation. I mean, they're out there selling and growing their business. And it's not that they don't want to make the shift, it's that they haven't been able to make that shift. And so it's critical that vendors or distributors play that enablement role, because if their partners are not online, neither are they. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter. If people are looking online and your partner's not online, they're not going to find your partners, but guess what? They won't find you either. So through channel marketing, automation brings that technology platform that immediately enables partners who are not online to be online right away. It gets those partners into that digital journey right away. So the web content, the social media presence, the digital email marketing, the search, paid search that comes along with that, all of that helps partners to elevate their digital presence and to be found online. Because remember, customers and buyers are searching online. If you can't be found, nobody's going to get to the information. Nobody's going to read it because you just weren't found in the first place. So to be found, vendors, really have to enable their partners, and by enabling their partners, they're helping themselves.
And up until now, or excuse me, before TCMA became a thing, how have vendors been doing this, or trying to?
Mm-hmm.
How have they been helping partners to achieve those goals, to become visible online, to be found by the potential and prospective buyers? Have they been doing anything, or how
Mm-hmm.
has this evolved into TCMA as we know it today?
Yeah, that's a good question. So they've been doing it in two ways. So one way they've been doing it is they've been posting stuff on portals. So for example, they'll post white papers and case studies and all kinds of assets, brochures, all that kind of stuff. And they hope that their partners will come and use it. And the big partners do, right? Big partners have marketing teams, and they'll come and they'll use it, and they'll download stuff, and they'll go off and they'll do their own marketing. But if 90% are SMB and they don't have internal marketing resources, they're not coming. And so it doesn't matter how much they want to, they don't have the resources to do it. So, that's the first thing that they've been trying to do, is that they've been trying to get the partners just to come and do it themselves. And really, it really hasn't worked. Like I said, it's worked for the big guys, but for the 90%, it hasn't worked. And the second way they've done that is that vendors themselves have gone out and done that digital marketing. So they've gone out and run Google Ads campaigns or paid search campaigns or whatever it is online. But the only direction that they're able to take buyers is to their website.com. So then the buyer goes to their website.com, they consume some information, and then they have to go through a partner locator to see if they can find where they can actually buy the product or service. So a lot of times when that happens, the customers get lost. Right now you're into too many steps. Now I got to go through a partner locator. And then maybe that partner has a website, maybe they don't. Now, you would think everybody has websites, and most do, but some don't. Now that buyer has to then go to that partner's website. Now they have to kind of start over again and start looking for that information. And if the vendor content is not there the way that they just saw it on the vendor's site, then that customer may get lost and may go off somewhere else. And so that vendor may lose that buyer altogether. There just is no transition from the digital marketing that was done in the first place that captured the interest of that buyer to the ability to buy from that partner. And that's what through channel marketing and through channel marketing automation does, is that it enables that digital marketing that's controlled, brand compliant, everything by the vendor. It happens through automation, through the partner, so that that buyer sees it, is captured, is interested, and then they are immediately directed to that controlled content on the partner site. So when that buyer gets there, they can consume that content, they can read about it, they can contact the partner. It just is all connected so that we just don't lose that buyer.
Automation these days is so important, right? It doesn't only allow the speed, removing all those overheads on the individual teams and people within those teams, all those hideous manual admin tasks, etc.
Yeah.
We're talking about a lot of integrations here. Am I right?
Well, to be honest, TCMA doesn't have to be a complicated integration. So we have customers who are running through channel marketing solutions, and there's no integration. I mean, there can be integration to sort of a CRM, but sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that's not something that they care so much about. They're trying to drive traffic and awareness. So it's not a complicated integration. A lot of times people run through channel marketing automation platforms that are already integrated with their PRM, their partner relationship management software. So that integration can often come together.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they run it standalone. And we certainly have customers that do run it standalone and might integrate it with their CRM or not. So it doesn't have to be as complicated as some of the other elements, honestly, in an ecosystem like that.
Okay, so the lift to implement a solution like this is not necessarily heavy, or can be as heavy as you make it.
Yeah, I think that's right. We have certainly helped clients to get on board in 60 days without any integration at all. And within 60 days, the content is there, the campaigns are loaded, the partners are onboarded, you push a button and off it goes. So the internal lift for the marketing team, there's a lot of work that has to be done up front. So the pages have to be configured, the marketing content has to be chosen, and sometimes content has to be reconfigured a little bit because it's now being seen in a different context through partners as opposed to going directly from a vendor to a particular customer. So there's a lot of setup work that has to be done to get it right. There's a lot of setup work with the content calendar and the social media management and getting all that set up. There's work involved in getting alignment between different organizations in the company. So, I mean, we've got processes that help companies do that, but that's sort of where the lift is in the setup of the processes and the procedures. But honestly, once we get going, it just sort of runs fairly smoothly.
Obviously, with the automation, it doesn't just go into a void and it does its thing, but it also provides metrics, right? It is vendor
Yes.
wants to measure how successful through channel marketing automation is. So
Yep.
what are the typical KPIs, or what do the vendors typically measure when it comes to TCMA?
Yeah. So we are able to provide metrics to vendors in a lot of different ways. So, we'll let them know, total impressions, how many people saw their brand, how many people clicked on that, how many people went to, page 1 or page 2, what content did they consume, what kinds of things did they download, how many turned into leads, did those leads turn into um, into orders. And so that gets into the question of ROI. And just before I get into ROI, all of those metrics we can look at it by total, by the vendor. We can look at it by campaign. We can look at it by partner. So there's a lot of ways we can slice and dice that data. And a lot of our customers really appreciate the fact that, sometimes for the first time, they can see how they're, there's a lot of times, sometimes this comes out of a channel marketing budget, sometimes it comes out of an MDF budget, but a lot of times, from an MDF perspective, they can finally see where that money went, into which partner,
Mm-hmm.
and what did the customers really like? Did they like the content on security? Did they like the content on hybrid work? Did they like the content on, so you can really gauge interest in that kind of thing. But from an ROI perspective, we look at it in a couple of different ways. So there's two elements really that make up ROI as we're looking at ROI. And the first is, what you would expect. It's the directly attributable revenue. So when a buyer clicks on a call to action, they become a lead. That lead is given to a partner. That partner closes a deal. That's an ROI that we can measure. Alternatively, if it happens to be a vendor that is more transactional, same kind of thing. The customer clicks on a call to action. They end up on the page we want them to, and they can actually click on an e-commerce application, and we can measure those sales. So that's the first element of ROI. But there's a second part of ROI that's a little bit more indirect, but we have noticed a very strong correlation between partners who participate in these programs and those who don't. So the vendors that we have worked with, some of them have a lot of partners in the program, some don't have a lot of partners in the program, or they're growing it. But when we look at when they look at the overall growth of the partners in the program versus those that are not in the program, they are seeing significantly higher growth rates for for the partners who are in the vendor programs. And that comes from
Mm-hmm.
a few places. First of all, like I said before, now those partners are being found way more often online. So they're being found because people are seeing their search ads, they're seeing them on social media that they follow. They're being found online. So just being found online gets them into that buying journey where they weren't before. Their websites have far richer information. It's current, it's brand compliant for the vendor, builds credibility. And so we're seeing more conversion from those kinds of customers. And what we have found through our surveys is that the partners who participate in these through channel marketing programs have reported much stronger loyalty to those vendors who are actually delivering the through channel marketing through or for them. And so all of those things in combination contribute to significantly higher growth rates from partners who are in that program than partners who are not. So we typically see ROI from through channel marketing, starting at about 15 or 20x and going up from there, just depending on how sophisticated that through channel marketing program is.
Thank you for that. People who are thinking about implementing through channel marketing automation, they might have been doing MDF before. That might be the world that they're used to, but they really want to help those SMB partners because
Mm-hmm.
MDF is typically being consumed or being used and utilized by those bigger partners, like we discussed earlier. But they want to, help their tail end of partners to
Yep.
get visible,
Mm-hmm.
to start drumming up some leads and closing sales for them. What would you recommend? What would be your three tips for anyone who would like to implement this? And is there any prerequisites that the vendor needs to meet before even that they start looking at TCMA
Mm-hmm.
solutions?
There was a lot in that question, so I'm going to start just with the MDF budget that you started with. So
Mm-hmm.
we find that when we talk to companies, that you're right, they have MDF budgets, and they are typically assigned to the larger partners, and that makes all the sense in the world because you need people within the vendor organization, the channel account managers, the channel business managers who are working with those companies, and there's an ROI that's expected. There are certain activities that are expected, and there's revenue that's expected back from that investment. As you know, and has been reported all over the place, as much as 50%, which is shocking but high, of MDF goes unspent. Now, some companies that I've not yet talked to a company that tells me 50% of their budget is unspent. So I don't know if they're being honest about it or if the studies are off. But the point is, there's a lot of money that's being. I haven't had anybody say nothing is that everything is spent. So there's always some portion
Yes.
of something that's unspent. But if you think about the MDF, and if you think about what's not being spent and what the return on that could have been, those are dollars that you can reallocate to through channel marketing. So you don't have to necessarily go find new money. And I'm telling you that the money that's unspent, the cost of it through channel marketing is going to be way less than whatever your unspent dollars are. So, if you let's say you have a $5 million MDF budget and $1 million is going unspent. That $1 million may be assigned to a handful of partners, right? That maybe haven't used those
Mm-hmm.
dollars. So if you take just a fraction of that and assign it to through channel marketing, you can assign that to hundreds of partners. So now all of a sudden your dollars are going much farther across many, many more partners. And you're able to elevate those partners and hopefully grow them into your, bigger, more important partners. So, from that perspective, there's a really good business case that we help our customers to really look at to say, how can you take the money that's not giving you return, allocate it to something else, spread it across more partners, and deliver more return? So, that's the sort of the first place to sort of think about, how you do that with MDF. Now, as far as prerequisites and getting started, I would say there's a couple of things. First of all, I think a company has to really look at getting cross-functional support. And what I mean by that is even within the channel organization, so between sort of the channel chief, the channel strategy team, the channel sales team, and the channel marketing team, those folks have to be aligned, because we have certainly, seen when they're not aligned that it becomes difficult because everybody is reaching out to the partners in different ways, and we want to make sure we're aligned. So having that alignment is really, really important. But the second thing is, build this into existing processes. This does not have to be a total new lift of work. So, if most companies have a marketing organization that probably works on a quarterly calendar. So every quarter they might have a new promotion or a new campaign or new content or something that they're doing on a quarterly basis. So let's take the through channel marketing and let's leverage that work that they're already doing. Let's tweak it. Let's not make new content, but let's just tweak it, because now customers are seeing it through a partner versus directly from the vendor. So there's some tweaking that has to be done in the
Sure.
context, but it's a heck of a lot easier and faster to do that tweaking than to create a whole bunch of new stuff. So you don't have to worry about an entire new lift. So what we say is build it into existing processes so that it's not all new money, so that it's not all new work, but leverages through all of those partners. And I would say the third thing, what are kind of three tips? I would say the third thing is around communication and demonstrating that value. Because the thing about through channel marketing automation is that automation. So a lot of times, depending, on the platform that a company has chosen, it can be fully automated. So once those partners opt in, they don't have to do a thing. They literally come in, they set it, and they forget it. And they go off and they go back to what they were doing. And then a lot of this marketing all happens in the background. So they're certainly going to know when they get leads. They're certainly going to know when, there's an e-commerce transaction that maybe has happened on their site. But they may not necessarily know that we sent 10,000, potential buyers to their website last month or last quarter. And so it's really important that gets communicated on a regular basis to partners, and that they really understand the value and the ROI. And if I could just make one other comment on that ROI for partners, one of the things that I think people don't think about is the value to those partners. So if you think about a through channel marketing solution, that includes things like the web content, all of the assets and documents, the social media that goes through the partners, email marketing, Google Ads. If you add all of that work up, the landing pages that get changed every quarter, maybe there's half a dozen new documents that get loaded every quarter. There's social media management that happens, 5 to 8 times a week, email marketing every month, Google ads that happen every single month. That adds up. If the partner had to pay for that themselves, that's around a $60,000 a year ticket that they're not paying for, that the vendor is providing to them. So it's just really important that you stay in contact with those partners, that you continually communicate the value that they're getting. And I think that's why, what I talked about earlier, that those partners feel valued, that they have a sense of loyalty, that they're being found more often, that they have higher growth rates. I think that all ties together.
Perfect. Thank you. All of the things that you mentioned about the communication and communicating to the partners and maybe letting them know, how many hits were there on their website the last quarter, etc. Is that typically visible somehow to the partner, or does the vendor need to export that out of that TCMA system and present it to the partner?
Yeah, good question. So my answer is going to be the latter. It has to be exported and presented. Now, if a partner wants to go into the platform, they can see it. It's there for them to see. But remember, we're talking about the small and medium-sized partners who aren't coming to the portal. So, we think that it's really important that proactive communication happens on a regular basis to share all that data.
Absolutely. Like with anything within the channel, proactiveness is king, really. And you're the co-founder of AscendX Digital, and you offer the TCMA platform for vendors and for distributors. But how does AscendX Digital differentiate from other providers in the market?
Sure. So most other providers either provide just the technology platform. Here you go, figure it out. Or they'll provide the technology platform, set it up, do the implementation, and then again, you're left on your own. We deliver through channel marketing. I mean, we can do that, but typically we prefer to deliver it as a service. Jay McBain has talked about in his research that in the TCMA space, 17% of customers are satisfied with their TCMA. And the reason is that they buy another MarTech platform and then they got to figure it out. They got to learn it. They got to become platform experts. They have to, that's a whole new set of processes that they now have to integrate into their marketing department, and they completely underestimate what has to happen there. So what we do instead is we come in and deliver it as a service. So you actually don't have to buy the technology if you don't want to. If you want to buy it, we can certainly put our services on top of that. But for most of our customers, they don't buy the technology. We just include it in our solution. So we deliver the outcomes. We can get it up and running, for example, in about 60 days, which is 4 months faster than most companies who try to do it on their own. Because we are platform experts, because we are subject matter experts. We work with the technology vendors. We're typically beta users of the platforms, and we contribute to those product roadmaps. Companies don't have to worry, for example, about the great resignation or layoffs in their team, because we make sure that there's continuity always, because they bought our solution to deliver this as a service for them, to their partners, to their customers. And because it's as a service, with us, you pay as you go. You only pay for the services that you use. And, there's tons of knowledge transfer. So we include all kinds of education and support for our customers and for their partners. For example, we'll set up the social accounts for the partners if they don't have them. And we will continually share best practices for them, because we really believe that the healthier that those partners are, and the healthier that their businesses are, the more that they're being found online, there's a far better payoff for our customers, who are the vendors in those cases. And so, that's something that we provide as just a regular part of our service. The healthier that the channel is, the better results our customers will have.
Perfect. Thank you very much for this as well. We will include the link to your LinkedIn profile, but also to Ascendex Digital website, so people can go and find you very easily. And thank you for sharing all the insights around TCMA and explaining to us what it is, what it does, and how it works. Very insightful. Thank you very much. What's the one thing that you wish you knew before you started your career in channel?
Well, I think the one thing I wish I knew is maybe something that I was maybe surprised at, in that working with the channel is so fascinating. It's almost like a mini MBA program that goes on and on forever, because you get to be involved with so many different kinds of businesses in so many different industries. So at Ascendex Digital, we certainly work with tech companies, but we also work with other industries as well. We work with B2C companies who sell through retailers. We've worked with industrial suppliers. So we've worked with a lot of different industries. And every time we work with a different partner, they might be or even in my career, I've worked with different partner. They might be an ISV, they might be a value-added reseller, they might be a retailer. You really get to dig down, and I love working with especially founders to really understand their business model and how they go to market, and just how smart and fascinating it all is, and how unique they all are. And so I certainly didn't know that before I started working with the partners, but the minute I started to work with them, it was absolutely fascinating. And I couldn't wait to work with the next one, because there was a different thought process, a different business model, a different idea that somebody had to create a whole new business, employ people, and drive tons of revenue. So I think that's what I found when I started working. And maybe what do I wish I knew? I guess I wish I knew I was going into that, because maybe I would have gone sooner. So it's been really rewarding, and it's one of the things I like best about my job.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And that journey continues, right? I mean, there are new partnerships, there are new partner companies, there are new types of partners popping up every day. So we see that regularly. So that journey continues to be fascinating. It doesn't stop after you worked 10, 15 years in the channel. It continues, and you get to learn something new every day.
Absolutely. I mean, just look at the rise of marketplaces. 5 years ago, we weren't talking about marketplaces. I mean, we were talking about Amazon, But now look at all the different kinds of marketplaces that we're talking about today. I mean, it's exploding. So it's constantly changing.
Sherry, thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and thank you for educating me and some of our listeners on what TCMA is and how it works. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
And that's a wrap for this episode. I do hope you found it valuable, and if you did, please make sure to subscribe and leave a review. You can also follow Channel Voices Podcast on LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook, or just visit channelvoices.com where you can send me a message or leave a voicemail. All of the links are listed in the show notes, and once again, I appreciate you tuning in today. Until next time.